want to welcome everybody, whether you came by boat, by foot, by ship, by plane, Uber, or you hiked. Welcome to South Africa. Welcome to Cape Town. Khwaikhuit, that's the Khoi name for Cape Town, the indigenous name. Welcome to sit under the beautiful Horihuaka, which is Table Mountain. Cape Town is known as Khwaikhuit, means where the beautiful clouds gather. I trust you will have a beautiful time here for the rest of the week. But let me make a few acknowledgements this morning. I would like us to hold a moment of silence, please, to recognize and respect the people of my ancestors. Can we have a moment of silence? Just 10 seconds or so. I thank you. We recognize our people and our ancestors. We are on the occupied, unceded, and unsurrendered land. Unsurrendered land of the Aboriginal Khoi and the Kham. We acknowledge the genocides we have survived, and we are grateful to our ancestors for the resilience and strength as First Nation peoples of Southern Africa. Atoa Tama Kamske, which means the struggle continues. I'd like to call up my daughter, Princess Shanae Creeling, as she will sing a song in Khoi from the Kukukofab language. Take note, not one of the Khoi and San languages are recognized in South Africa. So we'll sing one for you now.
Abotam Tavides, Titake, Kuses Shanae Creeling. In my language, that was Nama for hello. My name is Princess Shanae Creeling. This morning we'll be singing a song in, like my dad said, Kukugawab. It's a song of praise. The Khoi and San believed that there was a higher being that didn't necessarily have a name or an identity, but we did give praise to a higher being. The song means, thank you, God, we praise you. Thank you.
To set the scene, to play an animation produced by Alcohol Action Scotland, and I'm very grateful to Alison Douglas for allowing us to do this. It establishes so clearly that the harm of alcohol marketing goes beyond young people and it affects vulnerable adults. And I think it's really important that we do bear this in mind as we go through our deliberations about how best to regulate alcohol marketing. So much emphasis is placed on protecting children, but there are many vulnerable people in the adult population who also need protection from alcohol marketing, and policy does need to be designed with this
forget about the urge to have a drink when you're surrounded by it, even the ads for alcohol-free variants.
In some smaller shops it is at the till point, so you can't avoid, and the temptation to buy is extremely high at times.
It is constantly in your face, just a constant bombardment.
It felt like it was being thrust down my throat every 2 minutes. Ads pop up all the time on social media, and despite blocking them, more just appear. It triggers me massively.
Facebook know that I'm in recovery. They see that I'm talking about recovery, and I think that they think, oh, we have a chance to market more alcohol. That might be of interest to this guy.
It suggests that alcohol is completely normal and acceptable. It evokes memories of being normal and having fun, and tempts me back continually.
During sporting events, we don't target people with cigarettes anymore in the same way. Why should we be different with people with alcohol issues? It makes me feel angry. Alcohol is a really dangerous chemical that destroys people's health. Why are they trying to associate it with sport?
Until you're in recovery, it's hard to understand how important this is. Reducing alcohol advertising could easily help save lives for many in the recovery community.
Thank you very much. I just would mention before I introduce the first speaker is that we will have a little bit of time at the end for questions and answers. So if you're thinking as you go through what you'd like to raise, that would be great. So it's a great privilege to introduce the first speaker today, Professor Antonia Lyons, who is holds a chair, the Hugh Green Chair in Addiction Research at the University of Auckland in New Zealand. Antonia is a health psychologist by background, and she's going to talk to us about digital marketing and the need for regulation. Antonia.
Thanks very much, Sally, and thank you for the invitation. It's lovely to be here in beautiful Cape Town. So I'm going to talk about alcohol marketing in digital spaces, and I just want to start by acknowledging the people that I work with, my collaborators on a number of different projects. The ideas that I'm going to talk about in this presentation are a culmination of all of our work, not just mine, and also acknowledge the New Zealand Marsden Fund for funding some of this work. So just to get going, alcohol marketing. Make sure this works. We have a lot of evidence to show that exposure to conventional alcohol marketing, things like marketing on TV and newspapers, billboards and magazines, is associated with the increased consumption of alcohol. There's also evidence to show that exposure to digital alcohol marketing in young people and the ways in which young people engage with that marketing is also associated with increased consumption. There's enough evidence now that researchers have concluded that there's a causal relationship between traditional marketing exposure and youth drinking. The industry makes really big claims about digital alcohol marketing, and they've been doing this for a number of years. They say that digital marketing is transformative for the industry, it's revolutionary, and that personalisation is the future of marketing. Social media marketing agencies also make these claims, and I thought I'd just give you some examples of what they're saying about alcohol marketing. So Tweeby is a digital marketing agency. It's based in the US, but it calls itself a global agency that is not bound by geography. In August this year, they published a piece on alcohol marketing, and it was called Future Trends and Effective Strategies. So they said, basically in this piece of, this journalistic piece about alcohol marketing, they basically said that digital alcohol marketing has a profound impact, and it has completely revolutionised the nature of alcohol marketing. They also talked about social media, how it can reach younger demographics. What social media can do is that it's opened up a whole new world for alcohol marketers. It's able to target specific groups really effectively, and it's able to boost reach and engagement of alcohol marketing. And they also point out in this piece that personalisation is the future of alcohol marketing. Personalisation is a potent tool. What personalisation offers, it offers marketers the ability to provide social media users with unique, tailored experiences. So the question really is this just marketing hype? Or is something going on here? Is it revolutionary? And what I want to do in this presentation is explain to you that it's not just marketing hype. Digital alcohol marketing is fundamentally different due to the nature of digital systems and technologies. And because of the nature of these systems and these technologies, we would argue that it's likely to be even more influential on alcohol consumption. So why is it that alcohol marketing in digital environments is so different? I'm going to run through 4 key concepts that we've discussed and other people have discussed and bring them together to explain why it is that alcohol marketing on digital marketing that we have. I'm going to start with limbic capitalism. So David Courtwright has written really eloquently about the notion of limbic capitalism. So he argues that we have a capitalist system that enables industries to intentionally design, produce, and market legal but unhealthy and addictive products like alcohol that stimulate the limbic systems of our brain. These are neurological pathways that have to do with pleasure, emotion, reward, motivation. And they do this in a way that is all about maximising profit for those industries. So this isn't that new. The alcohol industry designing, producing and marketing alcohol products to maximise profit. The change comes when you put marketing of addictive products like alcohol onto digital platforms like Facebook, TikTok and Instagram. Nick Cernicek has written about platform capitalism. So this is where social media platforms have been designed to create a sense of indispensability in users' lives. They're designed in such a way that people have to engage in social media to be able to undertake their social lives, do daily life effectively. And they're designed in that way so that users are on them all the time. They are indispensable so that they can capture more and more time of users, more and more of their behaviour, their attention, their emotion, their affect, and then convert all of those things into digital data. And they do that, they're designed to do that in a way that maximises profit. They work to maximise profit through advertising revenues. So that's how the system is designed, and Nick Cernicek talks about it in terms of platform capitalism. Limbic media is another concept in this space that other people have discussed. And this is the notion that not just the social media platforms, but also the devices that they're hosted on, the smartphones, have been designed using insights and knowledge from addiction research to engage the limbic system, to ensure that people are continually on these devices, to ensure that people use them regularly and often, to maximise profit for the tech industries. So social media platforms are hosted on smartphones that are basically designed to be addictive. So if we put that more simply, we've got a limbic product, a product that's addictive, alcohol, being marketed on social media platforms that have been designed to be addictive, and those social media platforms are hosted on devices that have also been designed to be effective. The key distinction in terms of traditional alcohol marketing is that in the system, you can also have personalisation. It works, it operates on this notion of personalisation. And personalisation is the way in which the systems operate, where algorithmic machines make decisions that are predictive and preemptive. It's about getting there before the user knows what they want, continuously nudging social media users towards alcohol purchase and consumption through changing in real time the content that they encounter in their social media feeds. And that's all the end goal of the algorithms is to maximize profit for the platform and for the industries that are involved. If we put that another way, social media platforms run on algorithms that are automated, and they are continually experimenting on users to optimize sales. The end goal is sales and therefore profits. How that actually works is really obscure. And so they do talk about the black box of the algorithms. It's not even known to marketers how that gets from one point to the outcome. It's fully automated. And it also means that what people see in their feeds is highly individualized. It's highly personalized based on that user's activity, their own social networks, what they're doing online, where they are, geolocation data, how they're feeling. What happens in one person's feed is not going to be the same as what other people see in their feeds. So personalization means that marketing is an ongoing dynamic process that actually enables moments of vulnerability to be exploited in real time. So vulnerability might be because it's the end of a working day, it might be the time of the week, it might be because of mood, it might be because of what other people in networks are doing. But what that means is that the algorithms are designed to learn to identify when users are most likely to be susceptible to alcohol products and generate the marketing within their social media feeds, alcohol. What that means for different people in society, it does play out differently for different groups in society, and we've argued how this kind of marketing, the way the system is designed, escalates the health threats to the people who are most vulnerable to addictive products. So that might be to young people, that might be to people who are in recovery, that might be to heavy drinkers. And so there are groups in society who are being bombarded with alcohol marketing in their social media feeds. So the limbic nature of digital systems and technologies means that digital alcohol marketing is likely to be even more influential on alcohol consumption patterns, on perceptions about alcohol and drinking, on alcohol-related identities, and on drinking cultures. And there's another step in this process that I haven't mentioned yet. So we've got alcohol being marketed on addictive platforms, hosted on addictive smartphones, and we also, within the system, can purchase alcohol online, and in many places of the world have that delivered to us within 30 to 40 minutes to our homes. And that is revolutionary. So marketing has changed fundamentally. It's no longer about showing a message. It's about completing a purchase. And that has intensified since the COVID-19 pandemic. So public health researchers in Australia have been talking about how online alcohol sales have been surging since the pandemic because of these digital systems. There are two other aspects of the digital environment that I'd like to mention. It's not just social media, it's other environments as well. Alcohol marketing is integrated with within all new and emerging online environments. It permeates all digital spaces that are popular with users. Wherever users go, big alcohol goes too. So we've been doing some work looking at metaverses. This is work that Tasia Hako is leading at Massey University in New Zealand, and looking at what the alcohol industry is doing in different metaverses. One of the ones we've looked at is Decentraland. It's an online virtual world. You can have an avatar, you can go in, you can explore the world. There are all sorts of things you can do in Decentraland, including purchase real estate. You can play games, you can meet up with your friends, you can have fun, you can go to bars, you can order alcohol, you can go into different digital environments that are alcohol branded spaces. This is Wisher Vodka, Wisher Vodka, that has a space in Decentraland. If you enter that environment, you are asked if you want to go to the website for Wisher Vodka. If you click yes, you get taken to the website automatically. If you say that you're over 21, you are offered to purchase the vodka straight away. That's how quick it is. The other point is that it's not just big alcohol. There are other actors that are involved in this digital environment. So another study that we've been doing has been on Instagram influencers. And we surveyed over 1,000 young people in New Zealand, so these were 16 to 19-year-olds, and we looked at the top influencers that they followed. And what we found was that eight out of the top 20 had their own alcohol brand. Kendall Jenner, we captured all of her posts, all of the top 20 influencers' posts for a 2-week period last year. And Kendall Jenner posted a lot with her own tequila brand. And you can see she posted this photo and said, "Things I love." It's not disclosed as marketing. It's just part of her everyday world. It's part of her everyday life, so she posts about it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, here's another one. He's got his own tequila. He posts regularly about his tequila. This is him posting about an award that his tequila won. So he has millions of followers, many are underage, and it's not disclosed as marketing. Tana Mojo is another influencer globally who's popular with young people. When we were collecting our data, she did a product launch for her new Dizzy wine, it's called, and did a lot of posts about her Dizzy wine. So there are 3 key messages that I'd like you to take away from this presentation. The first is that digital alcohol marketing is highly profitable for alcohol and big tech industries. It's not just alcohol, the alcohol industry, it's very profitable for big tech. And ever since big tech has been developing and social media platforms have been being designed, big alcohol and big tech have to work together on the design of the systems and the platforms to maximize profits for both industries. And that system functions to maximize these profits without any regard for public health. And it's even worse than that, because it's not even about having no regard for public health. It's that they don't even have any knowledge of the harms that are being caused by this kind of marketing. It's not assessed, it's not measured as part of this system. And as we know, there's little regulatory oversight. So there is a need for change. There is a need for a complete ban on the digital marketing of alcohol products. Policymakers have a primary role here in changing this unsafe digital environment that particularly young people are immersed in, but also across the population. We're using the digital environment as part of our everyday lives. We need it. It's really handy. But these industries that are on there, these unhealthy commodity industries, are causing harm for the users. We can amend existing alcohol legislation, marketing restrictions, But we can also be part of developing legislation. So many governments around the world are looking at online harm and online safety and data protection. Governments are looking to see how they can protect the public from the harms that are being caused by social media platforms and digital tech companies. And alcohol marketing, the digital marketing of alcohol, needs to be part of that conversation. And there are many actors who are involved in this digital supply chain, and all of those actors can be held accountable. Fiona Singh is going to be talking about this in the next session. So this comes from her work. And I guess the key thing here is to point out that all of these actors have a vested interest in keeping the status quo to continue to maximise their profits. And it's not about public health, and it's not about providing a good public space, a safe public space. And that's it.
Thank you, Fiona. That was really extremely valuable and interesting. And now we'll move on. We'll take questions and comments at the end. We'll move on. So we've got in the next two presentations, we've got a couple of examples of when countries have tried to put in place total bans on alcohol marketing and what's happened. And the first one is from Lithuania, from Mindaugas Stelimakas, who is a senior researcher at the Lithuanian University of Health Sciences. Mindaugas.
Thank you very much. And I'm very happy being here today, and thank you very much for the organizers for inviting me and supporting the trip, as well as what I want to acknowledge is that the research that I'm going to present is a result of a big team, international team, and also based on a grant from NIAAA at the US. Right, so I'm going to speak about the lessons from implementing alcohol advertising ban in Lithuania, and that will be kind of a summary slide for me, but I think Lithuania has an interesting story to share, because in a relatively short period of time we implemented all the WHO best buys, and one of those was total alcohol advertising ban. And yeah, this is what will be my main message from this presentation. So before that, I will briefly speak about overall background, and as I told you, there will be some concluding lessons learned at the very end. So starting from Lithuania, what is Lithuania? So it's one of the three Baltic countries, the biggest one, at northeastern part of Europe, and we are fully integrated in international Western organizations, joined the European Union in 2004. However, we are still a little bit behind with many of our health indicators, but we are catching up, and the problem is that Lithuanian men are lacking much more behind than women, and that makes the biggest life expectancy gap across the European Union and EU in general. Yeah, but Lithuania improved quite significantly. Also, we have to acknowledge that Lithuania, as a post-Soviet country, had a drinking problem. Very unhealthy drinking habits are observed, lots of binge drinking, etc. So lots of alcohol-related problems for Lithuania as well. And our politicians have started solving the problem in around 2007. So 2008, 2009, an important time point, also a period starting 2014, also an impressive one. So lots of policies implemented, but I'm going to concentrate more on alcohol advertising related bans. So the first ban that was introduced was around 2008, when the advertising ban on TV and radio was introduced for the first time during the daytime. And afterwards, industry actually itself suggested that, oh, do not ban advertising immediately, just give us time to prepare, and then introduce a full ban. But the politicians implemented both, and it was a huge unsuccess, and then which turned out to be a success for the alcohol industry. We wrote a separate case study for that. The most important time point for us for this presentation is 2018, when a near total ban of alcohol advertising was introduced, which included the digital market as well. And before we move to the study related to social media, I want to briefly cover the overall background and the environment, how we were operating at the time in a policy debate in public. So the overall situation and my personal impression at the time, because 2011 was around the time when we were starting, when I was starting my academic career in this field. So the interesting impression was that when the media was interviewing you, they were not ignoring us, but they were, always asking to cover this and to explain what is the situation, why the health indicators are bad, and what are the recipes to solve it. And we were, not only me, but the other experts in the field in Lithuania, also were listing the WHO best buys, which was also including the alcohol advertising ban. And that was the part where media tend to cut the report and short, and we were never showed in explaining, what we need to do. They were always skipped with this part. And that was interesting, and actually we did a small study on that, analyzing what are the overall messages in the media, which showed that around 3/4 of articles published in the main internet media portals were kind of biased towards supporting the arguments of the alcohol industry. And that kind of confirmed our impression as a specialist working in the field. Right, so despite that, in 2018, a new government which came into election with strong public health agenda introduced multiple advertising related bans, also many other bans, and one of those was a total alcohol advertising ban. And we analyzed how effective it was in social media. So we made a study analyzing over 100 Facebook and Instagram profiles over a 60-day period. So 30 days was analyzed retrospectively, and 30 days prospectively, following every day and analyzing the posts. And over 2,000 posts in overall were surveyed. What we did was we basically identified alcohol-related posts and categorized those into 3 categories. The first category was alcohol beverage advertisements, which was not that many. Out of 119 adverts in Facebook, there were around 220, or just above 1%, or just a few percent of ads that were considered to be alcohol advertisements. The second category was zero alcohol beverage ads, which were clearly identified as beverages with zero alcohol. And the third category was mainly relevant for the influencers, which mainly were considered to be a gray zone. It was alcohol in the background, but not specifically identified as alcohol advert, etc. So those are some types of each of the category. Even though we considered some of those ads as being alcohol adverts, they were not very, traditional adverts with a specific brand, and there were no major corporations of alcohol beverages that we could see. Mainly the smaller companies where some kind were violating the ban, or at least were at the borderline of alcohol advertising, what we observed. A slightly bigger challenge was the adverts of non-alcoholic beverages, mainly sparkling wines and beer, non-alcoholic beer. And those were quite popular for the grocery store chains and for the producers themselves to advertise those in their own profiles, etc. And the gray zone category was mainly relevant for the influencers that we monitored. And in some of their posts, it was just happening that a glass of wine or glass of wine-looking beverage was appearing in their pictures, showing good time, partying, etc. And yeah, this was a category most relevant to influencers. So what was the overall enforcement experience from the enforcing agency, which in Lithuania is the Department of Drug, Tobacco and Alcohol Control? Well, they basically, out of all the violations related with any kind of regulatory violations in Lithuania, alcohol adverts are taking just small proportion. In different years, it's just a few percent up to till around 10% out of all violations. In that period, since 2018, Lithuania had around 11 lawsuits where they were considered in lawsuit, and the companies were, not agreeing to get penalties, and they were getting into the court, and two of which were lost by the department. One of those was regarding the non-alcoholic beer, which kind of created a mixed picture in Lithuania regarding non-alcoholic beverages, whether it can be advertised or not. I will get back to this in a bit again. And what about the Lithuanian society? Well, in general, nobody likes advertisements, so it was not surprising that Lithuanians in general were very happy about not seeing alcohol adverts anymore. 2/3 of the Lithuanians constantly are in favor of alcohol advertising ban. And yeah, this is one of the great news. So one more thing I wanted to share with you is some 4 interesting case examples that we had after implementing a full alcohol advertising ban in Lithuania. So one of the things that happened in Lithuania immediately after 2018, when the full alcohol advertising ban has been introduced, was an unexpected and very widely covered in the media initiative by some of the retailers of foreign magazines, who suddenly started ripping off the pages with alcohol adverts from the international journals, which were, having adverts of alcohol, or they were putting very screamy stickers on those journals. And it basically, the market of these international journals is extremely tiny, but it had such a huge media coverage that it basically caused some politicians to reconsider whether the full alcohol advertising ban is a good idea. And I think this was the main purpose of this initiative. Basically, it all run out of air in a few months. No legislation was changed. It just, you know, basically there was some kind of public campaign. It was finished in a few months and the legislation remained as it is. So currently no changes happened, but advertisements in international journals are kind of tolerated. And as I said, this is an extremely small market that basically is irrelevant. Another interesting story is still unfinished, in my opinion, is that in 2019, we introduced so-called a child champagne ban, which basically banned mimicking the beverages which are similar to alcoholic beverages, which were directly targeting children. And that was kind of popular for the birthday parties of children when parents were buying child champagne for their children. And this was an initiative to ban and to eliminate this behavior, similarly as it was done many years ago with tobacco products. Yeah? So this is a great initiative, investing into the future of the young people. But in contrast, there is non-alcoholic beer, for instance, that can be purchased by the minors also. So, and some journalists also raised this question that, look, you have a child champagne ban, but also you have non-alcoholic beer, which also can be purchased. So this is still ongoing debate in Lithuania regarding this specific aspect, and of course we need to pay more attention on who is getting used to the tastes of alcohol. Yes, so young children should also not drink non-alcoholic beverages, which are very similar to the alcoholic ones. The third example comes from the basketball field, and Lithuania has, well, we used to be, and a little bit still are, good in basketball, and this is #1 sport in my country. And when the alcohol advertisements were still available, beer industry was heavily building themselves on relating themselves with the basketball. Yeah, so during this summer, during the FIBA Basketball World Cup, we kind of experienced the same feeling, because non-alcoholic beer heavily started building themselves on relating themselves again with the basketball. Yeah, so this was another interesting experience. Is it good? I don't think so, but it's still allowed because this is non-alcoholic beer, and Lithuanian Supreme Court ruled that it is okay to have non-alcoholic advertisements in our country. So this is where we have unfinished story so far. But the story where we have finished with is non-alcoholic spirits. Because, you know, when the wine and beer industry started their own branches of non-alcoholic beverages and started to advertise those, the spirits industry well, decided that they are not worst. You know, they can do also the equivalent drinks which are non-alcoholic. And some attempts were made by them, and one of those was Čepkelių alcoholic bitter, which suddenly created a version of the drink of Čepkelių non-alcoholic non-bitter, and started to advertise it quite aggressively. And they even compared themselves with a shampoo that, look, if shampoo can be non-alcoholic, so can we, and that is okay. And yeah, the thing is that Lithuanian Supreme Court didn't think the same way, and they basically banned any kind of advertising of this spirit, which is quite strong, 36% of strength. So this is a true spirit which is not allowed to be advertised. There can be versions of non-alcoholic spirits. It's their own business, but they cannot be advertised in Lithuania. Okay, so I'm now moving to my conclusions. So the first lesson that we have is that total alcohol advertising do work. It can be enforced, and the good part about total alcohol advertising is that it is much more clear to enforce. Yeah? It is like with the country border. When you have a specific marker, like a river, like a mountain, it is much more clear to see where is this border violated. But despite any of this, there is always a borderline somewhere, and that creates perhaps some kind of gray zone, yeah? But it is still easier to navigate when you have total alcohol advertising ban in such situations. Lesson 4 is that total alcohol advertising ban is strongly supported in the society. Despite lots of scare tactics implemented by the alcohol industry before the implementation, afterwards the ban is quite popular in the society. And finally, and also important message is that lobbying and health advocacy activities never end. The alcohol industry was very active before the ban, and it still remains active after the ban. They are probing, making some kind of suggestions that perhaps we could allow for the retail grocery stores to just show the bottles as it is with the non-alcoholic versions, etc. Lots of different initiatives, so you never can relax and go easy that the work is finished. Despite all of this, I think Lithuania presents an interesting case, great example that total alcohol advertising can work, and please use our experience in your own countries, because before the implementations, these messages might be important. So I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. I think this was a very interesting presentation, and I'm so pleased that in one of the very rare examples of where a country has put in place a total ban, we have a team of people working to evaluate what's actually happening there. It's quite rare. And also for highlighting this important issue, which is not going to go away, which is that when governments do put in place restrictions and when consumption does drop, the industry is turning very much to no and low alcohol products, and how public health responds to those, which is an issue we need to talk more about probably. So thank you very much, Mindaugas. And now it's a great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Rajesh Pandav, who is the WHO representative in Nepal, another country which has attempted a total ban on alcohol marketing. Dr. Pandav.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you for the organizers and Sally to invite me to speak at this conference. Good morning, colleagues. We had a great start to the day today morning with a walk organized by Professor Charles Perry through the water canals. And I'm sure all the people who participated in the walk will certify Charles as an excellent tour guide. You can add that in your CV. But the good thing was the Honorable Minister of Social Development of South Africa also participated in the walk. And at the end of the walk, she committed to have the strong alcohol control law passed. So that was the highlight for me today morning. So in my presentation, I will show why there is a need for strong alcohol control policies and a legislation. Can I have the sound, please? So this is an example of how drawing from campaigns and tactics tested in wealthier countries, in Nepal too, alcohol companies, advertising and marketing combine global themes with local cultural icons and festivals. And as I go ahead, I'll give you more examples. And to show how they combine global themes with local culturals, just recently it is Dasai time in Nepal. It's one of the big Hindu festival. So the Alcohol Business Association of Nepal started Beer Jatra, which is basically beer festival, similar to the October Beer Festival. So this is how alcohol companies, try to adapt to local conditions going forward. So first of all, some challenges overall. So there is an inherent conflict of interest between alcohol industry and public health. The commercial interest of alcohol industry runs counter to health. Public health measures to reduce consumption of alcohol is in direct conflict with the financial objectives of the alcohol industry. Alcohol is produced and promoted in an increasingly internationalized market. A small number of transnational corporations dominate the production and distribution of alcohol beverages. Despite the known conflict between alcohol and health, it is dealt as an ordinary item of consumption within international trade. It is not subject to an international agreement regulating its trade in the interest of public health and welfare. Consequently, the global, regional, and bilateral trade agreements provide the alcohol industry a platform to influence health policymaking by advocating against alcohol regulation. The trade agreements have created important opportunities for expansion for alcohol companies. Monitoring and regulating of this alcohol industry is a big challenge in effective alcohol control policy. And as we saw from previous presentations also, the alcohol marketing is constantly evolving. And the industry is making even more aggressive and targeted marketing moves. It continues to utilize multiple platforms, radio, television, sports and music events, websites, social media, mobile phones, and product placements in movies and TV shows. Digital social media and OTT platforms are being aggressively utilized to promote and market alcohol, particularly amongst women, youth, and kids. In collaboration with soda makers, alcohol industry has launched a range of ready-to-drink beverages such as hard seltzers, flavored malt beverages, wine coolers, and canned cocktails. It deceptively employs health and wellness taglines to sell products that are directly related to the health, social, and economic problems. Alcohol, as it amplifies the risk of communicable disease, NCDs, domestic violence, road traffic accidents, and economic impoverishment. As said earlier also, alcohol industry is doing exactly what the tobacco industry did several decades ago to ensure the growth and increase profits, expanding into low and middle income countries and employing aggressive marketing strategies. This needs to be combated with effective regulation of alcohol marketing. Now, quickly go to Nepal. Nepal, which has a population of about 30 million with 30% under 15 years. So, exposure to alcohol advertising manipulates adolescents by shaping their attitudes, their perception, and in particular, their expectation about alcohol use. These influence their decisions to drink, leading to early drinking initiation and increased alcohol consumption. This graph also shows the expanding age group of 25 to 64, which is a drinking segment and which the alcohol companies have targeted aggressively. Although the annual per capita consumption is very low in Nepal and 63% of alcohol consumed is unrecorded. The current drinkers, the successive step surveys have shown that there has been an increase in the current drinkers age 15 plus, and almost 1 in 8 men drink daily or almost daily, and 6.8% of adults are heavy drinkers. Alcohol is also, there are many ethnic communities in Nepal, and alcohol is embedded in the lifestyle of many ethnic communities, and prevalence most likely is underestimated. So there is a domestic production of beer and spirits. There are also established importers of foreign liquor, wine and beer, and there's also home-brewed liquor like Isla and Raksi. Alcohol is very easily available from corner shops to big stores, and there are no opening or closing times for these stores, and anybody can buy alcohol from the shops. Also, Nepal is bordering India, and a big state, Bihar, which has banned the sales of consumption of alcohol since 2016. So Nepal, which shares a long border with that state, on the Nepali side of the border, bars and restaurants have sprung up, which are, where people from Bihar come in to drink alcohol, and also obviously local people also. The per capita expenditure of alcohol was rupees 2,063 and was much higher in urban areas than in rural areas. So this is just a quote I took from a newspaper article just a couple of days ago, which highlights the drinking problem. In our society, any celebration calls for a drink or two. A hard day at work means indulging in some good scotch or local hooch that night. If you are happy, you drink. If there is a problem you cannot handle, you drink. If you don't drink at a party, you become an outlier. Everybody will ask you why you aren't drinking and try to convince you at least down a shot. This graph basically shows how the increasing trend of alcohol is in Nepal, and the most recent National Demographic Health Survey, 42% of men consumed alcohol in the past month as compared with 11% of women. And from the STEPS survey data, it also shows that almost 19% saw advertisements promoting alcohol on some media platform, and almost 22% who attended social events such as sports events, fairs, concerts, saw alcohol advertisements or got free beer or discounted alcohol sometimes, or most of the times. So in 2018, Nepal Public Service Act was passed, which actually prohibits the advertisement and production, distribution, dissemination, and transmission of advertising materials of alcohol. So we have this act, but the result was a total ban, totally neglected. Meaning you had newspapers every day with front page, big advertisements about alcohol in the newspapers. There was alcohol advertising on highways and sports grounds, especially where football grounds. Then, following the Public Health Act, there was an Advertisement Act 2019, although which did not mention specifically ban on alcohol and tobacco. On 11th November 2021, the chairman of the Advertisement Board came out with a statement condemning advertisements of tobacco and alcohol. And this statement by the Advertisement Board got a strong pushback from the media. So the statement basically informed that the advertisement of alcohol and tobacco products should not be published and broadcasted, and the advertisements on the hoarding board should also be removed immediately, underlining that otherwise necessary legal actions will be taken. But as soon as this statement was published by the Advertisement Board, there was strong reactions from the Advertisers and Football Association. There was a joint press release from the Nepal Advertising Association, Nepal Media Society, Media Alliance Nepal, Nepal Beverage and Cigarette Industry, and All Nepal Football Association, because all of these people were benefiting from these huge advertisements in the newspapers and football grounds. They said, we request the government of Nepal to immediately withdraw this statement, discouraging ban imposed by the Alcohol Board on publishing and broadcasting advertisement and create a favorable business environment. They said that if the government didn't intervene to withdraw the notice of the Advertisement Board, we will be compelled to take strong steps ahead. Immediately following this, the Advertisement Board retracted from that letter and pointed out that it is the Ministry of Health Population is the responsible ministry, because the Public Health Service Act is from the Ministry of Health. So it's important to note that in 2020, the Vice President of Strategy and New Business Development, AB InBev, South Asia, they launched the king of beers, which is Budweiser. And he said in his statement, Nepal is a very attractive market with a thriving young population and growing economy. We are not present in the market and we were just importing on a very small scale. Based on our internal projections, we see this becoming a key market in South Asia. While drafting our strategic planning exercise, we are aware that Nepal is a market where we needed to be in. The combination of our winning liquid, which is the beer, and assets in electronic dance and music and football, and the growing Nepali market, we believe we have the right recipe for success. So they had targeted this very young population and the growing young population for alcohol. So they have used all the playbook in Nepal. They have used all facets of modern marketing, from global to local, present in all social media channels in Nepal, in football, music, events and festivals, engaged with influencers and media personalities, integrating sales channels into marketing mix, also targeting young people as well as women, and news-generated content. So they have sponsored artists and events, all famous artists and musical events. So with the New Year also, they had this aggressive marketing, and also in Hindu festivals in Nepal, Tihar, Diwali, the Dasai King festival, and all other festivals, they have aggressively promoted alcohol. And also specifically targeting women, free for ladies, and then breaking the bias with this fierce woman, free entry for ladies with this aggressive marketing of alcohol. And then World Cup provided them an opportunity to enter a big way, and they created a dedicated web page for Nepal, which direct links to online shops with promotions in shops and events at pubs and bars all over Nepal. And presence in all social media channels. So increased engagement at all levels, at New Year, at festivals, during the World Cup. And highlighting the brand global ambassadors. Presence in all Nepali social media channels for youth. And this was all over the malls in Nepal. So following this, WHO worked with the Ministry of Health and civil society also, and asked the government to take this issue seriously. And these were the reactions from the government. On 23rd November of 2022, Ministry of Health issued a letter to the Ministry of Communication, Information and Technology and the Ministry of Federal Affairs and General Administration and Chief Ministers of all provinces, drawing their attention to the rampant advertisement of alcohol in the country. Following that, the ministries which were informed wrote to all the municipalities in the federal structure of Nepal to strictly implement the ban on production, distribution, and broadcasting of advertisement of alcohol and tobacco as per Public Health Service Act. And following that, the Ministry of Communication and Information issued letters to Press Council, Advertisement Board, and Information and Broadcasting Department requesting that these offices to stop production, distribution, and broadcasting of advertisement of alcohol and tobacco. So what happened after these letters? The newspapers still continued to carry ads in front pages. And there was non-compliance of this advertisement board notification. So, in spite of the Public Health Act, in spite of the Advertisement Act, in spite of the letters going from the government to all provinces, federal, provincial, and to the municipalities, this advertisement continued. Following this, then with our increasing advocacy with the Press Council, they issued a statement on 11 February that this Advertisement Act needs to be strictly followed, and the Press Council Nepal appeals through this press release to all kinds of communication media to stop these activities. And what happened? So this news story in 12 February about the Press Council statement covered in alcohol ads, because there is an underlying algorithm, as you mentioned, that as soon as something about alcohol is written on that page, you have 3 advertisements of alcohol coming up. So it's the algorithm which drives this. So this Press Council statement says you do not advertise, and the advertisements are there. So following this, with all of this, we work closely with the government, the National Health Education Information Center, the civil society, the Consumers Forum, and they filed a petition in the Supreme Court of Nepal, and on 23rd February 2023, the Supreme Court of Nepal introduced an interim order in the name of government to strictly implement the law, stating that there is a legal provision that prohibits advertising of alcohol beverages in any media, and they ordered the government agencies to strictly implement the law, form a monitoring committee with the Secretary of the Office of the Prime Minister, and finally to submit a report regarding the actions taken by the concerned agency to the Supreme Court within 2 months from issuing of this order. And the agency had 15 days to challenge this order. So following that order, and several of these agencies filed a petition, but that interim ban still continues. So before we had this full page advertisements, and now there are no, since February 23 till date, there are no front page advertisements of alcohol in Nepal. So before the Supreme Court order, the same news which I showed you earlier about the Press Council, if you search that news now, you will not find the alcohol advertisement. That means these algorithms also can be corrected, if there is a will to correct all of this. So this, as I said, the same news story online before and after the Supreme Court about a press release with the advertisement, and now without the advertisement. Again, all the hoardings have started to come down in certain municipalities, and there are bulldozers which are bringing down these advertisement boards. Yeah, but in spite of the Supreme Court order, there is non-compliance by the digital media and social media platforms. And as you saw, there is targeted advertisements towards women. And presence in all Nepalese social media channels for youth still continues. But in August 2023, WHO worked with MITA, and now no alcohol advertising can now be run in Nepal through Facebook and Instagram. So this is possible if we can intensively engage with MITA on this. But this also excludes the alcohol companies' own social media and websites where they can still advertise. So some of the challenges you see in this video of a bulldozer in a local municipality where the mayor is bringing down all the advertisement boards. But the Supreme Court still has to reach its final decision. There was another interim decision with 2 members of the Supreme Court which continued with the interim ban. Advertisement in newspapers have stopped, but the promotion, sponsorship, and social media advertisement continues. Hoardings are currently being removed in few sites, but there's a long way to go across Nepal because these are hoardings all over Nepal. Sponsorship continues, as does marketing in social media channels and on companies' web pages. And there is a rapid increase in the use of prominent social media influencers from Nepal to promote alcohol. And there are various schemes. If you attend a play, you will get 1 drink free. Also, cross-border digital marketing is difficult to tackle. There is strong industry influence in the policy enforcement area. There is an alcohol policy draft pending in the Ministry of Health for the last more than 10 years. And just to highlight once again, alcohol is the only substance commonly used for intoxication that is not subject to an international agreement regulating its trade in the interest of public health and welfare. So we need to continue, as I said, lobbying, advocacy never stops. We need to continue to lobby to sustain this Supreme Court order, and hopefully the final order will ensure that the Public Health Service Act and the Advertisement Regulation Act is enforced. And these enforcement responsibilities can be devolved to provincial and municipal governments. We are now currently working with municipal governments and mayors to ensure that they implement this law, along with civil society and other partners. And the SAFER initiative has launched, and all the SAFER partners are working together to build these catalytic actions to bolster political advocacy for ban on alcohol advertising, promotion, and sponsorship. And the presence of civil society and increasing engagement of civil society movement for implementing the alcohol ban. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was absolutely excellent to learn about what was happening in Nepal. As you said, and as Lithuania showed us, it never stops. It's an ongoing process. And I think this last presentation really illustrated the value of the commitment of WHO as well as civil society to engaging on this topic. Our final presentation today from Ms. Vu Duong from Vietnam, and this is a very interesting presentation which illustrates the way in which governments, if they do put in place legislation around alcohol, can monitor what is actually going on in the digital space. So, Duong, over to you.
So dear colleagues, it is my honor to present, and I'm also a little bit nervous after the 3 amazing presentations from my colleague in New Zealand, Nepal, and Lithuania. However, I hope that my presentation can also give you some inspiration about how civil society can collaborate and work with the government to enforce the bans on alcohol advertising, sponsorship, and promotion in Vietnam, especially on the digital platform. A little bit introduction about Alive and Thrive, where I'm working as the East Asia Pacific Regional Technical Specialist. So we are a global nutrition initiative to promote maternal and child nutrition at scale. And I'm now acting the chairwoman of the Scaling Up Nutrition Civil Society Alliance in Vietnam, made up of 16 INGOs and local NGOs. And my colleagues in Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar are also the committee member of this Civil Society Alliance. And we started off as an initiative on nutrition, and we protect and promote breastfeeding. So we are quite, so our core expertise is about protecting and also fighting against the commercial milk formula companies and the breast milk substitutes product. So we're supporting the country governments to adopt and then enforce the Code of Marketing Breast Milk Substitutes in 5 countries. And that is also what brought us to alcohol, because when we supported the government of Vietnam to adopt the National Code of Breast Milk Substitutes, then they will requested us to scale up the AI tool to other products, including tobacco and alcohol. And do you know the reason why they want that? Because they say, I do not want to appear to be discriminating only breast milk substitute companies. But that is also a good reason why we're starting working on alcohol products. So a little bit to give you some background and introduction about Vietnam. So we are one of the largest alcohol consumption markets in the world, ranked 5th in Asia and 44th globally. And most alarmingly, the per capita alcohol use in Vietnam increased 90% only in 7 years, from 2010 to 2017. It is the 5th highest in the world, and it is also more alarming that it is increasing very fast among the adolescents. And the main reason for that is the alcohol prices are considerably cheap, due to the low tax, which account for only 30% of the retail price. But good news is that the Vietnam's excise tax law is proposed for revision in 2024. So we, together with our colleagues in this conference, the professor from TMU and also other organizations like HealthBridge and WHO are also convening to work on this very important law. And Vietnam and Southeast Asia, if you do not know, that we are among the fastest growing digital economy in the world. Vietnam with 97 million people, and we have the majority are the young population, and we are among the top 15 countries with, in terms of smartphone users, and we are the 7th, we rank 7th in terms of number of Facebook users. And, but also good news for us that next year the Vietnam advertising law is also proposed for revision, and we as Alive and Thrive is requested by the government of Vietnam, Ministry of Information and Comms, to provide technical assistance related to digital marketing regulations. So I would like to skip this slide because my colleagues from New Zealand has a very amazing presentation about the association between alcohol advertising and consumption. And this is to give you some flavor of how the alcohol advertising, sponsorship and promotion are still rampant in Vietnam despite the bans and restrictions. But I also want to note that in Vietnam, the bans is not a total ban as in Nepal or in Lithuania. As you can see that the Billboard or the sports athletes endorsement or Heineken, which contribute for 2% of the GDP in Vietnam, always the main organizers of the year-end events in Vietnam. So this is an overview of the alcohol control policy in Vietnam. And as you can see that we have most of the control policies. However, how these policies can be enforced is very important. And that is also draw on from our experience in supporting the government with the Code of Marketing Breast Milk Substitutes. Adoption is important, but enforcement is also more important. And to give you some background about the bans on advertising, sponsorship and promotion in Vietnam. So in Vietnam, the advertisements is only prohibited among the beverages with alcohol content above 15 degrees. And with those under 15 degrees like beer, the advertisements is allowed with the mandatory warning on age limits and harm. And only until last year in 2021, Vietnam with our support, technical assistance support, we supported the Ministry of Information and Comms to come to develop and also issue the Prime Minister's Decree 70 on digital marketing. It is for the first time that Vietnam requested the online platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and Google. They must report annually on the advertisement violations. And they also have to remove the violations within 24 hours upon the request from the Ministry of Information and Comms. So that is why we received the request from the Ministry of Information and Comms that please help us with a tool that we can detect the violations, and then we can send that violations to Facebook, TikTok, and Google to ask them for removal. And since 2021, 15 companies have been sanctioned about $10,000 for the online ads violations by the end of 2022. So that is the rationale for why we developed the AI tool. We call it VIVID, the Virtual Violations Detector. So VIVID was co-developed by the Vietnam's Ministry of Health, Ministry of Information and Comms, HECADE, a Gen Z startup company focusing on bringing artificial intelligence to the social impact, and Alive and Thrive. Why we want to emphasize the importance of engaging with the government agency from the onset, so that they own this tool, and it is not the product, the VIVID is not the product that the civil society developed on its own, but it is the product that upon the request of the government. And as you can see in the photo here is the delegation, including the Vietnam government, UNICEF and WHO, where we also presented VIVID at the Global Congress, the first global congress ever on the marketing of breast milk substitutes, where we also introduced how VIVID could detect the online advertisements violations. And then we also received a lot of requests from other neighboring countries and other countries in the world on how we can scale it up, this product, to other language and other countries. And after this global congress, VIVID is now functional in 10 languages beyond Vietnamese. And now we are also supporting Mexico and Argentina to develop the tool for the Latin American Spanish-speaking countries. To give you an overview of how VIVID, the AI, is employing AI to detect the online violations. So this is the model that we start first identifying the channels where the advertisements are most promoted. And then the AI VIVID will crawl the data from that channels. We use object detection, text exporting, multitask classification, and natural language processing, meaning that VIVID can read the text and the image of the post. And then we have about 1,000 pictures and posts that we already classify them into violations and non-violations, so that we can teach VIVID that if you read these keywords and if you look at this picture and you identify the labels that these products with the alcohol content above 15 degrees, then it is violations. So it built the AI model, and then VIVID start detecting. And what is more significant about this model is that we use supervised machine learning, meaning that besides the learning of the machine itself, we also have the supervisors who are from the Ministry of Health, Alive and Thrive, Ministry of Information and Comms, who will confirm the violations, meaning that after VIVID detect that this is a violation, this is not violation, the supervisors will confirm, and then VIVID will learn from this supervision to increase the accuracy. So at first, the accuracy of VIVID was only 54 to 60%, but now it is increased to about 70 and 77%. And it is most accurate in the breast milk substitute products, when we could mobilize more and more communities to support us as the supervisors. So here's an overview of VIVID, And with the three main functions, you will have a chance to explore Vivid yourself when I will give you the QR code to the website. But here's the first function. As the health inspectors at the ministry, whenever they go to the website, they will have a list of all the violations that Vivid has detected. They will say that, for example, the first line, that is from La Rue Beer, they say it is a non-violation. And the second is from Morlage and Saigon Beer, they say it is violation. And as a health inspector, you will press the button, the green button, if you say that Vivid's detection is correct. And you will press the red button if it is not correct. And then Vivid will create another loop of learning upon your confirmation. The second function is tracing the violations from detection to penalty, meaning that the government requests us that after they have confirmed that this is a violation, for example, Johnny Walker, with this is a type of violation, then as a health inspector, they must issue the sanctions to the company and then receive the feedback from the companies whether they admit that they have violated or not. So we created a function where the government officials can upload and all the documents so that they can trace how they have issued sanctions and penalties for a specific violations. And the last function is to label the code violations upon request. That is the function that we create so that we can mobilize more and more community to this tool, meaning that when a mother or a person in the NGO working on alcohol, you suspect that this is a violation or not, then you will drop an image or you will paste a suspected link to Vivid and ask whether it is a violation or not, and then Vivid will answer whether it is a violation or not. So in Vietnam, Vivid scanned 27 fan pages and websites. Why it is so limited at 27? Because we only scan those websites and companies that has a blue tick, meaning that it is a verified account, so that at later stage, when it comes to violation, to sanctions and penalties, the government can know who to hold accountable. And here is a list of the brands that Vivid has scanned in Vietnam. And from 2022 to 2023, you can see that here it is a graph of all the online alcohol ads violations as detected by Vivid. The biggest violator is Morlage, Johnny Walker, and some very famous beer like La Rue or Hanoi or Heineken. And this is a number of violations over the month. As you can see that when we started Vivid in 2022, there was about 100 violations per month. And then it also decreased, gradually decreased, but then also a little bit slight increase during the Lunar and the New Year in November. And when we analyze the violations, we find that most of the violations are among the beverages with alcoholic content above 15 degrees. Why? Because in Vietnam, as I have shared with you from the beginning, that those products with the alcoholic content below 15 degrees, it is still allowed to advertise. And therefore, those with the alcoholic content above 15 degrees, they are maximizing the online and the digital platforms in order to reach the young population. And as you can see here, that 162 violations are the ads of the alcoholic content of above 15 degrees. And among those products below 15 degrees, most of the violations are about the ads without the warnings that this product is not suitable for the people under 18 years old. So here are some of the posts that Vivid could detect. As you can see, Morlage with the products and 13,000 likes and 300 comments and 52 shares. a famous beer brand in Vietnam. They sponsored a sports event and a cultural event. However, we can only say this is a violation because they do not have the warning label that it is not suitable for the people under 18 years old. And they also organizing a lot of events where they have the brand ambassadors as the key opinion leaders. And although Vivid is functional in Vietnam since 2022, there are also some limitations. The first limitation is that we do not yet cover the key opinion influencers posts. Why? Because the digital marketing regulations in Vietnam do not yet classify the KOL posts as a type of advertisements. And this is what we are advocating in the upcoming revised advertising laws, that we need to regulate on how the key opinion influencer post is not a personal sharing, but it is an advertisement. And as you can know that the alcohol products, they are also using closed social media clubs and also personalized pop-up ads or videos. And that is what Vivid cannot yet crawl the data from. Vivid can only crawl the data from the public domains. And here are some proposals from us to scale up Vivid in alcohol in other countries, and also how it can be a useful tool for policy advocacy and also community engagement. The first proposal is that we really want to scale up Vivid beyond Vietnam, similar to Vivid in breast milk substitutes. We think that if we can have more data from another countries, in neighboring countries, then we can name how the big alcohol are violating the alcohol bans, alcohol advertising bans all over the world. And this will be a strong evidence to inform the new regulations on cross-border alcohol marketing, advertising, and promotion at the global, regional, and national level. I'd like to highlight this picture when Ms. Mai Hương from the Ministry of Health introduced Vivid at the Global Congress on marketing of breast milk substitute in June in Geneva in June this year. And then after this meeting, Vivid in breast milk substitutes received the attention of many other countries. And now it is also the foundation why we were also invited to play the role in the advisory group, technical advisory group for the WHO in developing the draft guidance on digital marketing of breast milk substitutes. So I hope that there will also be a similar global guidance on digital marketing of alcohol, so that it can be a good reference and recommendation for other countries to adopt into the national legislations. And lastly, why we could be successful with the Vivid breast milk substitutes? Because we have a strong breastfeeding mothers community behind us. For example, in Vietnam, we have a online breastfeeding mothers community of nearly 1 million mothers who is very passionate about breastfeeding and want to protect their children with a good nutrition. And we could mobilize them as the volunteers who also supervise and increase the accuracy of Vivid in detecting the violations. So if we can broaden the network to those mothers to engage them in the tobacco, alcohol causes, I believe that they will also on one side support many important tobacco and alcohol policies, but on the other side, they will also support to supervise Vivid and increase the accuracy of this tool in the future. So that is the end of my presentation, and let's meet Vivid by scanning the QR code. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shuang. That was absolutely fascinating. I think for me, when I first communicated with Shuang, and she showed me a PowerPoint, and she showed me the CEOs of the company that developed the AI for Vivid. And honestly, the CEOs they looked to me to be about 12. But very, very clever, very, very clever young people. And I think for me, one of the take-home messages is this is only the beginning. It can only deal with publicly available material, but it is the kind of thing that we're going to need to see develop going forward, AI being used for the good to combat AI being used for the bad. And the other point I took very strongly yet again, and that is the importance of civil society, the community activists, and the role that they can play in this kind of work. So thank you very much. I think that was an extremely useful presentation. And I deeply apologize because I've done a bad job of chairing. I'm not quite sure where the time has gone, but we don't have time for questions. I promised we would, so we'll have to take that up. I do recommend the concurrent session, which is after the break, which is on marketing. I was going to tell you which room it's in, but which room is it? 8-2. So there's more talk, and I think it'll be very interesting to follow up from this plenary session. One other housekeeping thing, the plenary session following on conflict of interest issues is not in Bluebell, as it says on the printed program. It's back in this hall for the plenary session, so don't get confused there. But finally, before we go for coffee, will you join me all? I think there's been an absolutely exceptional set of presentations, and I want you to join me in thanking the presenters again.